But I did want to touch on the fat loss versus, let's say, muscle
Yep.
building training protocols, because a lot of people do
Yep.
still think that you need to train differently. A lot of
Hmm.
people say you don't. You just basically train the same. Your calories just change. But
Yep.
you were touching on recovery. You were touching on
Yep.
performance. You were touching on, trying to burn more calories and the bounce back effect
Hmm.
and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, what do you think of when programming for fat loss versus if someone's trying to build muscle?
Yeah, well, one would be when you're dieting, what stage of the diet are you at? Because if you're in, I don't know, the first 4 weeks and it's the first program, it's very different in terms of your total fatigue and your calorie consumption likely versus, let's say you're running a longer diet and you're in your sixth program and it's week 21. And so more negative adaptations are kicking in, more fatigue, lower calories. And so that's a key factor. But then as well, if client is trying to build muscle, we have more calories to play with. And so we know that they're going to better recover from training and they can likely, they should be able to train harder because they've got more fuel in the tank. And so attacking a bit more training volume, doing more sets, or really pushing a higher effort and more consistently, or sprinkling in some rest pause or some drop sets to add more volume and overload can be a great way to capitalize on having more calories. Even if it's maintenance calories, that's better than doing it at diet mode because we have to manage stress both in the gym and in life as well if we want to maximize and enhance our results and get to our ideal outcome quicker. And so for me, more volume, more training, more sets makes more sense as your norm when attacking growth versus dieting, but you don't always have to stay forever high because if you just keep adding 4 sets or 25% volume to every workout, what are you going to be doing in 6 years' time? It's 3 hour sessions. And so that's where there's the benefit of changing the training stimulus, where you can go through like growth phases, but 2 or 3 phases could be dedicated to volume progression. You're trying to overload more by volume, do more sets, even rep overload. I actually love rep overload, adding increasing more reps at the same load. I think it's a phenomenal option, especially for smaller muscle groups. But then you can essentially pivot and still focus on growth, but you attack progression via load progression and intensity methods. So intensity progression. And so I think I'm trying to get stronger in that, I don't know, 6 to 8 rep range or 8 to 10, and it's just increasing the load. And you can still progress and grow by doing that. But a key factor is like building and establishing a great base. And that for me is essential for clients. And that's both nutritionally, lifestyle wise, but also in the gym. And that's why over the last few years, I've drastically changed how much work I prescribe clients. Even the course I created and was teaching program design students of mine a couple of years ago, like I do things differently there. I do less supersets, I do less volume because I'm first actually prioritizing increased effort and building a quality base. And then I'll think about adding volume because I've learned from experience that most people, something they're not working hard. It's just often people can be more consistent, execute things to a greater degree, and just raising the floor is how I like to describe it. As we're trying to just improve the average quality of the session. And if you do that, progression is easier. And there's also nothing wrong with dipping back down to this maintenance calories, maintenance volume, because the amount of work you need to do to maintain is vastly different to what you need to grow or to get to stronger and take your ability to the next level. And so you can be pushing a lot of training volume and drop sets and sets and lots of stuff, but like that's fatiguing. It also hurts if you do it properly, but we don't always have to have disgustingly horrible protocols. But if you want to grow, we still want it to be hard enough. And so that's why like my bread and butter for a lot of clients is, yeah, more sort of functional hypertrophy, sort of muscle growth, which can lead to functional strength adaptations and aid things in multiple ways. And so that's why I love that sort of 6 to 8 rep range for a lot of exercises because it's heavy enough without it being too crazy complex or too taxing in some ways in your joints and whatnot. And we can do big quality lifts and we can focus on a little micro progression. So we're focusing on seeing numbers going up, which is motivating in itself. And we don't want to just think I just want to be bigger. It's like, cool. Well, if you want to be bigger, how are you measuring that progress? Oh, cool. I look more jacked for that 3 seconds in the gym when I got a pump on. It's like, that's great. But I'm like, is that actually leading to sustainable muscle growth? Not really. So that's where we have to break it down and think, well, what are the micro things we need to do on a daily basis and every set and every sort of workout to set us up for optimal growth? And so that's where sleep, stress management, recovery, all that stuff matters. But what your norm is your norm. And so if you want to change your body, you have to go beyond those capabilities to force your body to adapt. But if you're just constantly going smash, 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 that's your norm. And so that is the dilemma. And so more isn't always better. Better is better. So quality over quantity is what I'm always preaching.